G'day guys. Well, we're doing something a little bit different today. I'm out on the beautiful Mitta Mitta River in northern Victoria. It's a wonderful trout stream. I am going to swing the spey rod today. I've got a 11'6" 4-weight Trout Spey here with a Skagit head-on and an intermediate sink tip, and I'm going to be swinging a couple of wet flies. So on the point, I've got an olive fuzzle bugger that you can probably see there, and then on a little dropper a little bit further down from that, if I can find it down here, I've just got a little, there he is, a tiny little soft hackle caddis. Anyway, we'll see how we go. This is a style of fishing that I'm relatively new to, so I'm no expert, and I'm sure I'll make some mistakes. So if you guys have any tips for me or comments to make or things that I could be doing better, please leave them in the comments below. Anyway, let's see if we catch anything. So one of the first things that we're usually taught when we start fly fishing is that you fish upstream to the fish so that the fish don't see us. But this style of fishing, swinging a wet fly, is fishing downstream, what we call down and across. The idea is to cast out at about a 45-degree angle downstream and let the current take the fly down until the line comes tight. And then the fly gradually swings across the river, hopefully in front of a fish. One of the advantages of this is that the first thing the fish sees is not the fly line or the leader, but the fly itself. This could be pretty important if you're fishing in fairly bright and clear conditions like these are, when the line and the leader definitely have the potential to spook the fish. Well, that's the theory anyway. Whether I'm doing it right or not is probably up for debate. So what's happened here is I've hooked a little part of a branch, some rubbish that's floating down the river, and that is one of the things that happens, you know, from time to time in this style of fishing. You will snag up on things sometimes or catch rubbish or detritus. It's not a bad thing to be getting the fly close to the bottom, I suppose. So you have got to expect that you are going to get snags and pick up rubbish from time to time. It just goes with the territory. Alright, let's move on down. I caught a beautiful tree fish just then. He took the little dropper. Anyway, we'll try the next pull. So I'm casting down and across into the faster current here, letting the current take the fly line and the fly down and straighten it out, and then it's swinging across into the slightly slower water beside the main flow. When it gets to the bottom of the drift and the fly line straightens out, I'm using the rod to try to just impart a little bit of subtle action to the flies. When you get a take from the fish in this style of fishing, you'll usually feel it either as a tug on the end of the line or a series of short taps, maybe 2 or 3 little short taps. I had to take this then. Just beautiful, beautiful water here. What a magnificent river this is. I love coming and fishing the Mitta Mitta. It's the second time I've come here. I came here last season as well. And it is definitely just beautiful water. Alright, I might go down and see if I can swing down into the top of this next pool from here. It doesn't look like there's very good access from the bank, but I might be able to swing down into it and we'll see how we go. Well, that's what happens when you cast your rig into a tree. One of the things with the Spey rod is that I'm not incredibly accurate with it yet. It's a much longer rod and different style of casting, so I need to work on my accuracy a bit. Alright, time to re-rig. Well, after a little bit of stuffing around, I've managed to re-rig. So let's try again. We'll continue further down that same run. Nice looking water. Anyway, let's see how we go. Oh, there's a fish. Oh, it's a carp. There's a big carp cruising right here in the shallows. I don't know if you can see him there. Anyway, I'll see if I can put a fly in front of him. I don't know if he'll take it or not. So as you can probably tell, this guy didn't want to play today. As they so often do, he just gradually slipped away into the shadows. I'm pretty sure that he knew that I was there. Big carp nosing in right against the shore there. There he goes. He just took off under that tree there. Seems to be a lot of big carp just in these little pockets in between the trees and the still water. They're pretty spooky though. Anyway, if I get an opportunity I'll put a fly in front of one, but I'm mainly interested in the trout. Alright, I've been having a little bit of trouble finding spots where I can really get good access and get a good cast in, but this looks alright. Should be able to swing down through that, so let's give it a go. One of the advantages of a two-handed rod is the ability to be able to cast off either shoulder. So as you can see here, the tree on my right is obstructing the cast from that side. So I'm casting off my left shoulder instead. And it's really not much more difficult than casting off the right shoulder. It can also really help if you've got a strong wind on one side and you don't want it blowing the fly line and the fly onto you during the cast. Because the tree's there in front of me, I can't really walk down this side too far, so instead I'm stripping off a little bit more line with each cast to reach slightly further down the pool. Of course, I want to start with shorter casts and cover the upstream water first, before putting the fly line over the water further down. Let's move on. Oh, there's a nice little bit of water coming up just here. If we can sort of get a cast in, I think we should be able to. Just try sort of in that bubble line around the point of that tree where the current's sort of holding up a little bit. It's a nice little place for a trout to sit. Anyway, we'll give it a go. You would think that having a big long 11'6" rod in the trees here would be a disadvantage. But in fact, here it allows me to reach out over the water away from the trees on the bank and just make a roll cast to where I want to fly. This actually would have been much more difficult to cast with a single-handed rod because there's no back cast room and there's branches hanging out over the river in closer to the bank. Well, I might just put a couple of casts through the bottom of this pool, see if there's anything feeding just at the bottom. Sometimes the trout will sit right in the tail of the pool, just in the shallows, feeding just before the rapid starts. So, anyway, let's see if we do any good.
What I'm doing here is a series of upstream mends to try to get the fly line directly above where the fly is further downstream. The reason for this is that if you have the fly going down one part of the river, but the fly line is somewhere else, when the line straightens out, it'll drag the fly very quickly across the river, so you won't get a good drift on the fly until the very end of the swing. By getting the fly line above the fly, it slows down how quickly the fly swings across the river, and it puts you in more direct contact with the fly if you should get a bite. Now at the end of the swing, I'm working the fly back and forward, hoping to make it look like a little nymph or emerger rising up in the water column to hatch. And the bigger fly on the point might look like a small fish or something chasing the nymph.
Bugger, snagged up. Alright, I'll have to walk down and get that. I've unsnagged that while we're here. I'll just have a little bit of a cast, fish the last little bit of the top of this run, top of this rapid, I should say. Some of the access is a little bit difficult along the river here. You can probably see there's some hard bits to get into, so there's only limited spots that I can get in and access, but this looks like a little run that might be worth a shot. We'll sort of swing down along the seam on this edge there where the fast water meets the slow water. Let's see if we pick anything up. So what I'm doing when I'm fishing these runs, I'm trying to start fairly short and fish that, swing it around, and then the next cast I'll let out maybe another 5 or 6 feet of line, swing that around, and then keep doing the same, moving down the pool, and that way I can sort of effectively cover the water. So anyway, hopefully you'll see that I'm pulling off a little bit of line with each cast and fishing the next 5 or 6 feet down the pool.
I had a take just then while I was reeling the fly up, which is a little bit unusual, but sometimes these things happen.
Alright, this looks quite nice. It's a nice sort of little run there with a little bit of depth, running down into a nice shady, deeper corner where it slows down a little bit. So we'll try swinging the fly down into that, see how we go. not quite getting deep enough, and I need to switch to a deeper sinking fly or lead or tip. Anyway, we'll keep trying. I'll have a go on this little run here. Got a nice little brown trout here. He took the point fly, which is the fuzzle bugger in olive. Here it is. I'll just wet my hands here and show this to you guys. There he is. Not a big fish, it's only a little guy. But it's a start. At least I'm on the board. Alright, gonna get this fish back in the water. Make sure he swims off nicely. Alright. There it goes. He's breathing alright. Alright, mate. Just get him swimming. There we go. Off he goes. Lovely little fish. Well, finally. That was a lot of effort so far for one small fish, but at least I know that this technique is going to work now. So now it's just a matter of refining it and seeing if I can get better. Anyway, I'll keep trying, see if we can get a better fish this time. Moving it all the way over to the right or vice versa. It's because I'm trying to get the fly to drift across the river on that particular spot that it's hanging on, to basically to cover as much water as I can is the idea. So yes, anyway, we'll move down a little bit now and we'll keep trying this run. See if we do any good. Had another bite on the swing. Okay, well I had another hit in there. It was a definite hit. So the shadows are starting to get on the water now, and I think the fish are maybe starting to come on the bite a little more than they were before. Unfortunately, I haven't got too much more time today. I've got to go to a dinner tonight. So try to get the most in that we can before I have to go. There's another nice looking little run down here. That looks pretty decent, so we'll have a go with that. Alright, well that's all I've got time for today, guys. Got to go and have some dinner now. Look, that was not the easiest fishing today, but it was good fun. Got the one fish and had a few other takes. It's a really enjoyable way to fish, and I think on some of these bigger rivers, it's a good way to cover quite a lot of water fairly efficiently. So I'll be doing some more videos around Mitta Mitta and the area this week. Probably do some more Trout Spey and do some conventional fly as well. Unfortunately, I can't hang around for the best part of the bite. It's about 5:30 now, and you know, the next 2 hours or 2.5 hours is really the best part of the day to be fishing. But we'll get to do some of that later in the week. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and We'll see you next time.